loves. It's me again, Mrs. Parks, and I'm here to read another story to you. And I wanted to do an N.V.F, which I have a poster here for an N.V.F for all of you guys for our story. So I'm going to go ahead and read the story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. So let's get started. There was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would just shake his head. "I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting and leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, so he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on a nice, cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt! Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around, puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. He was the largest and fiercest bull of all. Just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So, they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bullring. First came the banderillos, with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull. And you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and the banderillos were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderillos were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. The end. Okay, I hope that you guys liked this story. Now I wanted to just show you guys an N.V.F. Because we do that all the time in our class, and so I just wanted to share that with you so that your moms and dads can know how to do an N.V.F. too. So N.V.F. stands for name it, verb it, finish it. And I have it here. When we name it, we're just saying the title of what we read, and we're giving the author saying the author's name, and then the type of like what we read. So like I just read a book. Sometimes you might read a text. Sometimes you might read a poem. Sometimes you might listen to a song or something like that. And so that's the name it portion. The verb it portion, it just means that you just have to choose a verb. And in our graphic organizer here, we have 3 different verbs: teaches, tells, and shows. Those are the verbs that we use here in kindergarten at Tooele. And then there's the finish it portion, and that's the main idea of the story or of whatever it is that you, whatever text that it is that you have, or the moral or the theme. But when we're in kindergarten, we really just do the main idea, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do my N.V.F. So first of all, I'm going to use green. I'm going to go ahead and just trace. I put in the, and I read a book, so I'm going to draw a book. In the book, and in my book I kind of want to put what the book is about. So it's the story of Ferdinand. So I'm going to draw a little Ferdinand here. Let me see if I could do that. Boop, 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 boop. There you go. In the story, and then I'm going to trace the author. And I have to choose something. So the author didn't teach me anything, so I'm not going to do that one. The author didn't really show me anything, but the author did tell me a story, right? So tell, so that's the one I'm choosing. I'm going to circle it. And then I have to do the main idea. So the main idea of my story, of the story here is, it's the story of Ferdinand, first of all. And so I would say that it's about this kind and gentle bull who goes to a bullfight and does absolutely nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that, right? So I have the bull. I'm going to make his horns, and then I'm going to make his nose, and his mouth is down here. I'm going to draw an eye, and he's got his little bull nose. I have an ear here. There you go. So he's a gentle bull, and he gets to go to the bullfight. So I'm going to draw a bullfight here. Boop, boop, boop. And this is just a short sketch. You don't have to do something that big. Okay. And then to end, I'm all finished writing my N.V.F. And so now I have to say my N.V.F. That's very important. So I say, in the book, The Story of Ferdinand, the author, so I can say the author, or I could even just name the author, which is Munro Leaf. So I could say, Munro Leaf tells about a gentle bull who goes to a bullfight. And that's how you do an N.V.F.